Good morning, everybody. How's everyone doing? I hope everyone's doing well. My name is Samantha LaSalvia. I am a senior admissions representative here at Chamberlain University. I do want to welcome all of you to our Commit to Care webinar. We've started this series to have our Chamberlain students and alumni share what it's really like to step forward towards the rewarding career in nursing. Nurses are needed now more than ever, and there has never been a better time to pursue a career in healthcare. So the format that we're going to have, it's a little bit more informal. We're going to you will not be on camera. So if you have questions, please go ahead and put it in the question section, and we will go ahead and read it out loud. Today we have, some of our wonderful Chamberlain alumni with us. So Faith Bregman is with us. We do also have in student services, Kathleen, and we have Nicole Brennan in admissions as well as myself. So we will go ahead and get started with some discussions from our panel, and then we'll open it up to Q&A a little bit later on in the webinar here. So let's go ahead and get started. So the discussion first is around the class NR 351. So one of the first questions is, what is the first course of the RN to BSN program NR 351 really like? And if you don't mind, Faith, I might push this off to you because you have been in the program before, so you can go ahead and answer that.
All right, so I believe that is the Transitions in Professional Nursing course.
It is correct, yes.
So when I started my journey in May of 2020, I opted to just do one session, one class in that session, just to kind of get a feel for how things were going to be. And that course really eased me into the routine and gave me kind of an idea of what the rest of my program was going to look like. I don't remember right off the top of my head who my professor was, but she explained things very well. I mean, you knew what was expected of you. And if things were unclear, she made the lines of communication very open. And that was the experience with all of my instructors, that the lines of communication were always open if I ever needed anything, if nothing was clear. So I do believe that that course kind of just eased me into it, and I just got a feel for like timelines, due dates, discussions, the resources available, all the goods.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely. It is that transition course is definitely a good way to kind of, if you've been out of classes for a long time, or if maybe, you're not used to the online environment, it definitely is a good first course to start off with. Just from the feedback I've gotten from students that I've worked with in the past, it definitely, I've always gotten that it really eases them into the program. So I'm glad you said that, definitely. Nicole, do you have anything to add?
Samantha, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, this is Shawnee. I emailed this morning. I'm the other panelist. My MacBook has decided it doesn't want to connect to the internet, and so I'm on my phone, which means no camera, but it finally has me unmuted. So I am here. I did the program, gosh, it's been probably 13 years ago now. So I'm here for you all as well.
Yeah, Shawnee, if you want to go ahead and answer that as well, what your experience with NR 351 was, you can, which is that transitions, that first class, and then Nicole will kick back to you.
Yeah, so like Faith, it was one of the first classes I took. I didn't do one class at a time. I had finished my associate's degree and was ready to move forward. It was a great introduction. I was already working in community health, which is kind of a big piece of the nursing that we don't get in our associate's degree that we get in our bachelor's degree, but it just really tied things together for me. One of the things that I can tell you is just kind of like today, make sure you have technology ducks in a row and that you have backup plans, which they're even better today than they were 13 years ago. It would have required me to probably run to a library and figure something out. But it really is a good transition, and the nursing instructors especially, they just really understand what you're going through. So I was a great starter.
Yeah, absolutely. Nicole, do you have anything? You're muted, I think.
Still can't hear you.
Nah. Kathleen, while Nicole's kind of figuring it out, do you have anything to input on the NR 351?
Yeah, well, I think everybody really, hit the mark with the description of this class. The whole point of it, the design of it is to kind of ease you in. We want to make sure you're getting comfortable with the technology, is important, being comfortable working on a laptop or computer. A lot of it you can do on a smartphone, but it's not quite the same. You do need an actual laptop or computer. So getting familiar with the layout of the course, finding everything you need, finding your resources, and just readjusting yourself to time management with classes if you haven't done it in a while. So just the due dates, when to submit everything, how to submit everything. The class really introduces you to the format. And then that way you're not wasting time trying to figure everything out because it's the same format for the next class you're taking. Everything's in the same build, same design, same due date structure. So you're going to be really comfortable by the time you get through the first couple weeks of that first class. And then it's just smooth sailings, through the rest of the program.
Okay. Nicole, do you want to try now to see if it's working? Okay. I'm not sure why it's muted her,
Oh,
but go ahead, Nicole. I
there.
think it's working.
Awesome.
There you go.
Yeah. So I think kind of like what everyone else said, it's a great way to ease your way in. I think some students who've been out of school for a long time, the thinking like a student, writing like a student, kind of getting back into that school mode is really difficult. So in this class specifically, the paper's not due till week 6. So I think the discussions, those smaller assignments help to build that confidence to get there with writing. And preparing and thinking like a student, and you'll find that you're not thrown into a class where you're expected to write a paper APA week 1 or 2. You have some time to get comfortable and feel more comfortable and learn how to navigate and learn those resources that are available to help you, because it is very different from what was available when I was in college. So I think, again, it's a great way to ease your way in, and help you just get started on a positive note without feeling too overwhelmed.
Sure, absolutely. Okay. So some of the other questions that we had gotten was, how intense is the NR 351 class? And I think we kind of answered that a little bit, just kind of going into the fact that it is more of a ease-in course, right? It's meant to kind of get you back on your feet as a student. And another question kind of bounced off of that was, what sort of support is offered to assist those who have no experience with maybe online classes, or maybe they've been out of school for a really long time? So we're going to kind of talk a little bit about those support factors that are there. A big one obviously is we do have a tutoring center that is readily available for students. So that tutoring center is going to be available. Normally you can go into like even a chat feature with a tutor, or you can schedule a time. If you're working a 12-hour shift, you don't have time during that day, schedule it for later in the week when it works better for you, so that feature is also available. Anybody else want to go ahead and jump in for different support that we have?
I can answer this a little bit. I can't remember what the program or feature is called. It's where you can turn your paper in to have it be checked ahead of time, and they give you feedback within so many hours.
Yeah, that's part of the tutoring feature, Faith. So yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah.
So I would definitely recommend students to utilize that feature. It's constructive criticism always, and it's very insightful as to what your paper may be lacking or your writing may be lacking, or I even got like compliments or like, this is a really good paragraph, keep this. I would suggest and recommend all students use this, just for the simple fact as you don't know what you can improve on unless you ask for someone's feedback. And with that comes time management. You need to make sure, like in the transitions course, you do one piece of the paper in 1 week and the next piece of the paper in the next week, and you turn it in. But I would still utilize that tutoring resource, because then you're not just turning something in blindsided. Like your paper, your ducks are in a row, squared away, and you'll get the best grade that way, utilizing that feature. And the turnaround time for the feedback is pretty quick.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. Nicole, anything to add?
I just think resource wise, especially if you're nervous about getting started or haven't been in school in a long time, leaning on admissions to help guide you. We have lots of support available with the online readiness seminars you can attend. So just, if you need help, we don't know that unless you tell us. So I always tell students, I'm here to provide as little or as much support as you need. You just have to let me know so I can guide you. If we need to schedule a one-on-one 2 times in week 1, we can do that. We can walk through everything together. But I just need you to communicate with me how you're feeling and what you need, and be honest so that we can support you the best way, for sure. And then I think student services, I'll let Kathleen take that.
Yeah, thank you. And I think you're absolutely right, Nicole, and Faith too. Using the tutoring is, really helpful for more like the content material. But if it comes down to just navigating the technology, like if you haven't done an online course before, or if the last time you did one was years ago, admissions is great with doing live walkthroughs, showing you and how to navigate the course, where to find this, where to find that. And then reaching out to us here in student services, we can do the same thing. If you've worked with your admissions representative, they're not available, it's really in your hands to ask for help. So being proactive about that, as soon as you feel that you're not picking something up, or if you can't find something, don't wait to the last minute. The sooner you call and let us know that you need help, the sooner we can help you. The way you're not putting it off to the last minute. But yeah, there's a ton of resources just to kind of get you acclimated. Nicole mentioned the online readiness assessments. They're self-assessments, so just you kind of gauge where you're at and where you're comfortable. There's tours, there's guides, and just having a live person hold your hand and pointing things out is super helpful.
Yeah, and definitely those the newer things. Faith, I'm not sure how long ago you graduated. And also Shawnee, I know it's been a while for you too, but we do have readiness seminars now that are hosted by admissions representatives that do walk you through your portal as well. So I don't know if that was a feature while either of you were in school, but that is a big thing now, that we do have trained admissions representatives who are in know the ins and outs of the portal and are able to kind of show you what it will look like a little bit on your end. So those are very helpful as well. Shawnee, do you have anything to add?
No, I don't think so. I mean, you guys really covered a lot of it. It has grown exponentially since I was there, a decade ago. And just use your resources. And like Faith said, really, you've got to just be organized in what you're going to do. You're going to get that syllabus right away and know what's due, when, and where. Just look at your schedule, schedule yourself time. Like it's a date on your calendar and it doesn't get interrupted no matter what. Just like your workday is set and, takes something major to make that happen, right? Maybe you're sick, a sick kid, whatever your situation is. But as far as anything beyond that goes, it's on your schedule and you have to honor it. And that's how you really get through successfully and things that are really important in life.
Absolutely.
Just to
So,
piggyback off of that,
yeah, go
the
ahead.
program is super flexible and you can participate at your time, at your convenience. But if you're not taking the time to schedule it in, the week's going to fly by. You're going to find yourself like it's Friday, Saturday, and you're like, oh no, I haven't even read for this week. And now I have to make this time. So I think that is very true. Being mindful of the schedule, making sure you are setting aside time to do your classwork
And
around what you know you have going on each week.
I have to really agree with that. I think that if you find yourself cramming with things, it's a time management issue. Maybe take a time journal and just write down what you're doing. You know, how often do you find yourself scrolling on Facebook or playing a game or something just because you want to do something mindless? But those are moments that can really be used to just do something for 10 or 15 minutes if that's how busy you are. A time journal can be a great thing, but there really shouldn't be a need to cram. Hopefully you're really not that busy. It's just another thought.
Yeah, and if you're cramming, then like you're probably not getting out of it what you should. So, what you put into it is what you're going to get out. So if you're just doing the task to do the task, you're not learning the information and growing like you hope to with your degree.
Absolutely. So I am going to go ahead and open this up a little bit. It looks like we have maybe a few questions in the chat here. So we have one that says, I am a returning student. Last time I was with Chamberlain, I used an iMac, I believe that says, and had a few difficulties. Has there been any changes to Chamberlain's online operating system? So, um, I'm not sure how long it's been since the last time you took classes, but just to kind of go off of that, our portal is a little bit different than what it was in the past. We do go ahead and have, like we had mentioned, a lot of those different resources to help you if you are having IT or technical issues. So, has it been completely revamped? Not necessarily, but it definitely has some different aspects that I think are a little bit more user friendly than maybe the last time you had taken classes. So I think that kind of answers that a little bit. Kathleen, do you have anything to add from student services about that?
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. The student portal is fairly new within the last couple months where we did, revamp it. It's a new layout with basically the same information. Takes a little bit of getting used to at first, but there's more information than there was before. There's more helpful resources, and then it is quicker to navigate once you kind of figure out where everything is. So it's been, given a really good facelift. It is definitely improved with the accessibility too. So if you've taken classes, it's been years and you were using a Mac, I know that the technology has improved over the years, and that would be something where, you could see ahead of time before starting the class, where you can kind of click around, find a couple things in the student portal before class even begins and see how it works. I do know, a couple students who do use MacBooks and they use Safari as their browser, and that tends to work really well. We don't seem to have very many tech issues with Macs if they're using Safari as their browser.
I was just going to piggyback off what you said, Kathleen. The success strategies that's in your portal, that's a great way to kind of test your equipment prior to registering for class, because it does look like the same class. It's, formatted the same. So it helps to identify any technical issues prior to registering, as well as that preview week, the week before class begins, is a great way to navigate the class and identify technical issues so we can resolve them before that first day as well.
Perfect. Another question that hopefully that answered that question. I know that you had said that it's been 2 years. So yes, it has been a little bit of, like Kathleen said, it does have a facelift at this point. So, and so the next question here that we have is, are there clinical hours that would be needed to be completed? So for the online RN to BSN program, that's where you already are a registered nurse going into that program. I know sometimes we do have some campus students that jump on here, but for the RN to BSN online portion, technically no. We do a capstone course at the end of your program. A lot of times that is through like experiential learning. So I'm sure Faith and Shawnee can chime in on that one a little bit more to kind of give you a better understanding of what in the program they did.
For that, I did my project over I think it was a certification that my facility that I worked at the time for required, called nonviolent crisis intervention training. I was working on an inpatient behavioral health unit, and essentially it was a class or a training that kind of taught you how to de-escalate situations. So I did my project over that, and there was definitely you had to get your research articles, obviously, but I didn't feel overwhelmed in the sense that, okay, here's your project, like it's due week 6. It was, okay, like this week you should be working on this week you should be working on this. It's very laid out in a clear fashion as far as like what's expected for you to be doing each week. Teachers obviously, again, cannot say anything but good things about them. Always easy to work with if I had any questions, but yeah, that was my capstone. That was my project in my capstone course.
Perfect. Shawnee, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, my capstone was somewhat similar. So at that point in time, I was working part-time as a school nurse in a very small private Christian school. Small, I mean, I had over 550 preschool through 5th graders, so it wasn't that small, I guess. And then I was still doing hospice in the home PRN. And I did the same sort of thing where I was able to do a capstone project that really affected us there in the school. We were dealing with some allergy issues and just some really extreme stuff. And I took the time to go in and research. We had a dog that came in as a therapy dog that was causing some issues with a lot of the allergic students. And so I took that opportunity to research it and really go in and through. And so not only was I able to take this as a capstone project and use it towards my degree, I was able to take it back to the administrators of the school and initiate some change. So for those of you that are looking at online, there can be some ways that you can find some appropriate project that not only will help you finish your degree, but can, help move forward some things in your specific area of nursing.
Perfect. Yeah. Um, One of the other questions that we have here is, on average, how long does it take to complete the program? Nicole or Kathleen, do you guys want to take this one?
When students ask me what the typical is, I always just tell them there is no typical, right? Everybody's situation is different. Our program is super flexible. You can go one class at a time. You can take 2 or 3 classes. If life happens and you need to take time off, you can take time off. So on a general basis, if you had the 14 courses and you were going one class at a time, it'd take about 2 years and 4 months to get done. If you went full time, about 14 months. And then, depending on transfer credit, what you've completed,
Right.
your time that you can commit. That's really what it is. If there's a goal you have in mind, once you're through the admissions process and you've been accepted, your admissions representative will work with you to help meet that goal. Here's what my recommendation is based on what you're telling me you want to do. And we can kind of play it by ear. Like Faith said, a lot of students do like to start out with that one class alone, kind of get a feel for things, but then later may opt to speed up. So
Yeah, that's a big thing that students do. They might, like even Faith said, she started off with one class, right? And then from there, she might have, maybe you did take one class or maybe you bumped yourself up. I'm not sure. Did
I
you kind of
bumped
go that?
myself up.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
students do that a lot. Kathleen, do you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing, like Nicole said, is it can vary very much from student to student. It all comes down to your availability and your goals, what transfers in, what if you've got a deadline you have to meet. I do hear some students come in because they need it for their job, and their job says they have to have it by this date. So it's very much case by case, student by student, and we can absolutely give you a customized answer based on the courses that you're bringing in, if you're able to transfer some in, and then your pace and how quickly you do want to go through the program, or if you want to take your time. I think really what we would like to see is a customized goal for you as a student, and give you a more accurate time frame by having those kind of conversations, so we know what your time frame is, what you can and cannot do, so that you can make that goal of graduation, meeting all those parameters that you can set with us, and we'll kind of break it down for you how it works each session by session, and just the program as a whole and how long it'll take.
Absolutely. Love all of that. So, kind of just to, because I know we only have about 5 more minutes here. So, just to kind of wrap up everything into what we've discussed so far. I guess some questions that we get a lot is, what advice would you give to a new student who's registered for like the NR351 course? Um, for me, I always tell students that I work with, be patient with yourself. You are learning a brand new system, brand new portal. Some of you, like I said before, might have been out of classes for a very long time. Maybe you've never taken an online course. So it is very easy to get overwhelmed. So just make sure you're taking your breaths. You're kind of just taking it one step at a time. Use your resources. Use your professor. They are, as Faith has said, and Shawnee, they are really open to communication. They're going to be there to help guide you through. They're not there to make your lives more difficult. So, kind of utilize everything that you do have. And then you guys can all go ahead and bounce off of that. Shawnee, I know we haven't heard from you in a minute. What would be your advice as a prior student?
I think again, I alluded to it a little bit. First of all, figure out what your strengths are. How do you learn, and what's your best environment? I couldn't stand like noise around me. So, sometimes I would go to Panera like super early in the morning when it was quiet. I'd get out of the house. Again, that was my scheduled time before the kids were up, and I would go out, and that's where I would study, and I would leave before it got loud. So finding out what works for you, knowing how you study best for things, setting up time for yourself, scheduling it in your calendar, have an alarm go off on it. This is my time. It's going to take like a tsunami to take that away from me, because this is moving yourself forward. So, those are really the things, and use your professors as you need them, and use some really great resources that sound like they're there now. Have backup plans in place for your technology when it doesn't work right, and communicate, like so important.
Absolutely. Faith, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would say my advice would be, before you start your first class, write down on a piece of paper your why. Write down why you are doing this, what it means to you, and what motivates you. And you're going to have hardships come up. You're going to have life events happen. You're going to have it. Nobody has a picture perfect journey. But I found myself, you know, going through different hardships while working full time, while in school for my BSN, and going back to, why am I doing this? And that kind of alluded me to, what do I need to do in order to make this work? Whether that be reach out to student services, reach out to my admissions representative, reach out to my professor, ask a friend for help, ask a family member for help to watch the dogs, watch the kids, entertain them for a few hours. Like, know what motivates you and why you're doing this, because that honestly is going to get you through those hardships. I mean, and I'm not by any means saying like this program is so hard it's unbearable. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying life events do happen, things come up. Like, it's not always going to be rainbows and butterflies. Just like nursing school wasn't always rainbows and butterflies, but just know your purpose, what motivates you, and refer to that in times where you may be feeling underwater.
I love that. That's amazing. Nicole or Kathleen, do you guys have anything to add?
So mine kind of piggybacks exactly off of what Faith said. I think just, knowing it's okay to feel overwhelmed. It's okay to, to be scared and nervous when you're starting, especially, and making sure you're reaching out to that support. If you haven't been in school for a long time, it's hard. If you haven't done online before, it's overwhelming, and that's okay. What I tell students is you have to give yourself that chance to succeed. The first week's gonna feel hard. The second week's gonna feel hard. Week 3, you're gonna be like, okay, I'm kind of getting it. Week 4, you're gonna feel better. By that week 8 of that first class, you're gonna be like, all right, I'm glad I stuck with it, and I get it now. It takes time. You shouldn't expect to know everything day 1, week 1. It's a process. There were things I learned when I was a Chamberlain student in my 4th class that I was like, oh, I wish I'd have known this 3 classes ago. But you're learning more and you're growing more, and using those resources to help you, leaning on that support you have, whether it be personal, whether it be somebody from Chamberlain, you've built that connection with your admissions rep or student services. Use them to help you when things get tough, because I agree, Faith, life happens and things aren't always easy. So, we have to overcome those circumstances and remember that why and keep ourselves motivated to get there.
Absolutely. Kathleen, anything to add?
Yeah, I think everybody's been really very honest and very accurate with, how to get yourself through this. It's challenging. Life is challenging. There's 100 excuses every day not to do it. And anything under the sun can happen to make you want to press the pause button. But the sooner you start, the sooner you can be done. The sooner you can achieve those goals, the sooner you can put them to use. And it's for you, it's for your family, it's for your support. And, we just want to see everybody, get to that end goal and get to that graduation so that they can do what they really want to do. Write those goals down, reach out for help, and, manage your time so that you can get started and really get done.
Absolutely. Yes. Perfect. Well, we are right at the 10:30 mark. I want to thank you all for attending our Commit to Care webinar series. If you are looking to apply to one of our programs, you can either go to our website, which is www.chamberlain.edu, and select the program of your choice. Our admissions team will kind of walk you through the process there. I want to thank all the wonderful panelists for taking time out of their day and sharing their experiences and different resources that we have available. So thank you everyone so much, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
Thanks. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.